Well, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. What's happening? This is, just two boss babes coming at you to talk a little bit about accessibility today. Who here is terrified of it? Me, yeah. So I
Don't be
decided,
scared. It's not
yeah,
scary.
no. After today, it's not scary anymore. We're gonna demystify things. We're gonna break things down, and we're gonna have a good time doing it. Let's do the annoying thing and make sure we are live in all the places. I'm getting some notifications. If you are out there watching live, send me a little emoji or something. Say hello, and then let's dive in. You guys know me. I'm Steph. I run FocusWP with my partner Tom, and we run a company that helps folks to scale and grow their businesses by providing white label outsourced services. And so this is super relevant to us because this is a way that we can help you guys. So Amber is going to help us to learn some things about accessibility, and then we're going to use her knowledge and her tool that you're going to learn more about to help you. So everybody wins, right? Amber, the people have, I mean, come on, if we're in the Facebook group, you know this lady, right? You know Amber Hinds. Tell the people who you are just in case they're living
Just
under
in
a rock.
case. Sure. So I am Amber Hinds. I'm the CEO of a company called Equalize Digital. We're a certified B Corp that specializes in WordPress accessibility, and we have an accessibility auditing plugin. And I also run the WordPress accessibility meetup.
That's a big one. Tell folks what that meetup is. That's not just like a neighborhood networking thing, right?
So it is part of the official WordPress meetup program. It's actually one of the first of its kind. So it is 100% virtual instead of, meetups are normally city-based. So I said, hey, I want to meet with people outside of my city. Will you please let me? And they had to have a whole discussion. And then they were like, okay, yes. So we meet on the first Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. US Central Time and the third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. US Central Time. It's on Zoom, and of course, they're all free because it's Meetup, and they are live captioned. And we have speakers from all over the world, which is really cool. We're averaging now like 115 people at my daytime meetup, and then like 70 to 80 at the evening meetup. So it's fun. We get to see people from all over.
That's awesome. Speaking of seeing people from all over, you and I got to meet. We met at the recurring revenue retreat in November.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was cool. We got to hang out. If you guys ever find yourself in a bowling alley with Amber Hinds, watch out. That's all I'm going to say to you right now. Because
I was shocked that I actually did as well as I did, to be honest.
You know what it is? It's that level of competitiveness that you have, though. Like, you are not going to be beat.
I had not bowled for a really long time, but you know what? There are people. Pete was way better than I was.
It was like riding a bike. He was like, I haven't bowled in 30 years.
He came with his own bowling shoes, didn't he?
That's a warning sign right there.
That is a sign that you should just not bet on the game when someone pulls out their shoes.
Their own shoes, right? And you haven't bowled since you were 9. Okay, so Amber, today, the reason we're here, the reason I asked you to come here was because mainly I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions about accessibility and make it easier for me. And I thought, why not do that in front of a live studio audience, right? Like, why not have people learn from the same questions I have? I always am sort of the opinion that if I'm stuck on something, somebody else is too. So, and plus we're offering this new little service or package. It's not that we never did it before, but now we're using your plugin and we're going to help people with that. So basically the concept of this webinar is to help you out there, you web developers, designers, copywriters, whatever your affiliation is with making websites for clients. We want to help you to be able to do them accessibly without it being a major stressor or majorly expensive or any of those things. So let's dive in. First up, Amber, I'm going to ask you a few questions and make it like an official little talk show interview. So
Okay.
why, let's just talk about like I mean, you bring the passion no matter what you do, is what I've gathered and what I've learned about you so far, whether it be accessibility, page builders, or bowling, whatever it is, like you're a passionate person. So what is it about accessibility though that has made you laser focus your entire business into this?
Yeah, I kind of stumbled into accessibility accidentally, doing work for Colorado State University when I used to live in Fort Collins, Colorado. And they're like, "Hey, our website has to be accessible," and I was like, "Sure." In the very beginning, I like never said no. I was always like, "I can figure that out." It's a lot
Same.
harder than you might think initially, right? Um, but so we sort of stumbled into it, but I personally have always been driven to want to know that I'm making a difference. And I mean, I founded a nonprofit, ran a nonprofit, and actually in the process of starting up another one
Oh, really?
that's more focused on accessibility and more coming on that in future.
Mm. Okay, cool. Can't wait to hear it.
But like I've always known that I wanted to be doing something that made a difference. And so I think for me, like accessibility was a way to meld my interest in WordPress and experience as a web developer and strategic thinker around website strategy with something that I knew would actually make a meaningful difference for real people in the world in a way, not that like being able to sell your thing on a website that someone built for you isn't meaningful for a business owner, but at the same time, like I just wanted to know that it would do more. And through the journey, I have gotten to know and I've become friends with a lot of people with different abilities and disabilities. Several people who I consider good friends are blind. And, so I always just think about I want my friends to be able to do the same things on the internet that I can do.
I love that.
So, yeah.
That's a nice one. So okay, now let's talk about like some of the goof ups. What's the worst thing you've ever seen on a website for accessibility?
Oh, the worst thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I can show you later when I demo my plugin. It's on our old agency website.
It's your own?
Yeah. So it's funny when we switched, we made our focus accessibility. We did a whole rebrand. We became Equalize Digital. We used to be called Roadware Creative. There's a whole story behind that doesn't even matter right now. But we ended up.
Nobody's listening to this on 1.25 speed because you didn't get any of that.
It's probably longer than we all care about now. But we ended up. We had that website for quite a while, and then we took it down and we just redirected the domain. And then I was like, we should keep this website because it's really great for doing demos on. But also it's good because you can see like where you've come from, right? And we all start somewhere with accessibility, and it's about being willing to learn and making changes. And when you all see this website, you're going to be like, color contrast, like heading out of order, like everything is wrong.
Are you going to show
That's
us?
probably one of the worst things we ever did was that we were in the newspaper and we moved to Texas and we were so proud of ourselves. Like there's a little business section in our small town newspaper.
Uh-huh.
and so we like scanned it and there's a link in the bottom where you can click it and it opens up in a light box that is not accessible. And it's just like this scan of a newspaper article. So it's like an image and it probably doesn't even have alt text. Like, I don't even know if it says like Amber and Chris in the newspaper. Like it probably just says like nothing.
IMG0009.jpg.
Yeah, probably something like that.
All right. Well, way to call your own self out and not one of your poor people that come to you for help on this subject. That was very.
You asked like one of the worst things. And that is probably like, there is no getting around it. A blind person cannot read that article.
Nope. That's pretty terrible. That's true. Yeah. They can't read the newspaper article. I was thinking about something similar, like when someone has like they just put a whole page as a like an image, just like a JPEG for the whole page of each site,
I don't
stuff like that.
I
But
don't feel
those
like
are
I
kind of
see
old school.
that.
Those aren't really that
Yeah.
doesn't really happen very often.
I don't think I see that as much anymore, but I remember for a while, like events, for a while we had a lot of like conference clients, and
Mhm.
they would make these like print design, like posters for their
Yeah.
event. And then they would just like put it on a page,
Mhm.
and it would be like all the speaker information and the ticket pricing and everything was just in an image. But I feel like
My
I don't see that as much anymore.
my mobile responsive nerves are twitching on that as well.
No,
Um,
you
so
don't want to have to zoom and go like this. Oh, that's
slide around.
accessibility too, by the way.
Okay, that's interesting. Mobile responsiveness counts as accessibility.
Accessibility is about ensuring that all people on all possible devices, whether it's a phone, a desktop computer, a screen reader, something that has the screen magnified, can access the content and do everything that anyone else would do on a normal desktop computer.
I really appreciate that because it never occurred to me. But when you say it, it makes so much sense. So, okay, so you mentioned your company, Equalize Digital, and you have a plugin. And I
Mhm.
promise you guys, this is getting to know Amber a little bit. This isn't going to be like a sales pitch thing, though. We are going to give you some tips. But just and they're coming right now. So you guys created an accessibility plugin. Now, to clarify, because people get a little twitchy about thinking about things like overlays, that is not what we're talking about here, obviously, right? So explain a little bit about what this plugin does.
Sure. Yeah. So it's Equalize Digital Accessibility Checker. And what it does is it scans the WordPress website for potential accessibility problems, and it creates reports in the WordPress dashboard. It doesn't actually fix anything or use JavaScript to do crazy things. It doesn't add a toolbar on the front end. What it does is it highlights things for developers, designers, content creators, so that they can correct their problems. In many ways, it's like a Yoast SEO kind of type of thing where it
Okay,
scans and it gives you a little report and then you can go make some fixes. It's the same thing,
nice.
but for accessibility.
Oh, our pal Todd posted the link in Facebook for the plugin. We can post that in some of the other spots too. It's in the show. It'll be in the show notes after the show as well. Um, he says Todd says he's afraid to put it on one of his websites because it's going to show him what's wrong. The thing that is really cool is two things. One, there's a free version that you could do page by
Mhm.
page that works. It's not like restricted other than it's page by page. And then there's a premium version that you can just do a full site scan in one swoop.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's awesome. And the reason that Amber and I are talking about this together is because we're sort of partnering on this. At Focus, we're going to start using this plugin to serve you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Amber's plugin, install it on your sites, the premium version, run reports, and make any fixes that we need to make for you, or you can do them yourself. Either way, you know how we work. We're just your worker bees. And then once you're done with that, then we remove the premium version. You just can leave the free version and you can upgrade if you want or continue using the free version because it is again an ongoing thing, keeping your site accessible, right?
Yeah, you really want to think about accessibility very much. Like I mentioned, the SEO plugin, it's very similar. You don't ever
Yeah.
say, okay, I search engine optimized my website. I'm all done.
My site was
Maybe you
SEO'd.
have a
Yeah,
static website where the content never changes. You never add blog posts. You're never,
we don't
updating
have that.
products or anything like that. The guidelines never change. Google didn't
Right.
make rule
No.
changes for us, right? Every couple of months. Well, it's the same thing with accessibility. As your content changes, you want to have something there that can catch problems for you and help you identify them before you hit the publish button. Now, I will note a difference between the free and pro is the free plugin does not scan custom post types. So you can do
Oh, okay.
unlimited pages and posts, which for a small business might be fine. But if
Mhm.
you have like products or you have a services post type or a team post type or something like that, then you might want to upgrade to the pro version.
Gotcha. Now, would you guys like to see how it works? Want to see a little demo? Can we do a little demo,
Yeah.
Amber? Okay, let me pop your screen up here. Okay, so tell us what we're looking at.
All right, so we're looking at the old We're Certified B Corp page on the Road Warrior Creative website. I'll just kind of scroll a little bit. I think this used to go full width. I don't know. At some point in time, things got broken. But this is what this page looks like on the front end, which generally, like, it looks nice. It looks functional. And then on the back end, this page happens to be built with the block editor, but it will scan pages that are built with other page builders as well. We don't yet have any front end integrations where you can see the report on the front end in like Divi or Elementor or something like that. That's a goal that we have, but it will still scan it, and then you can come down and get a report. So I can see on this page, I have 5 errors, 5 contrast errors, and some warnings. And if I click on the details tab, then I could go over here. We could just look at this ambiguous anchor text. I will tell you, I've been testing a beta on this, which these features will be in free. So anyone who's even using free would get this, but I'm showing you guys, nobody else has seen it.
Ooh.
So it's special just for Focus.
You heard it here first.
Yes. So we've been working on this feature to view on the front end. So right now we have sort of the code snippet. If something has an image, and I don't know if any of these have images actually. Let me see. No, none of these have images right now, which makes it a little bit harder. If there's an image, it will show up, but it's harder for content creators sometimes to be like, I don't know where this is. So we added this ability where you can click or we're working on it. This is the beta and testing. Where it will highlight it. So it will help you find the issue on the front end. That should be a circle, not an eyeball. The styles on our website are overriding it. So that was an issue that I logged recently. But so for that, for example, learn more. If I'm not sure what ambiguous anchor text means, I could click on this to get more information. But basically, if I, go in here and I'm just like, about B Corps, I think that's where this goes based on the link. If I hit update, it would rescan the page and we would see that go away. Awesome. Sometimes we have things. Love live demos. Let's see if this reloads and goes away. I might have to click to the summary. Yep, there we go.
It went away. Yay, it worked.
I always get nervous.
I know, right?
But sometimes you see things. So like, an error for us is something we definitively know is a problem. A warning is something that it could be or could not be, and it might take human assessment. So with this, for example, we can see there's ARIA hidden, ignored items. What this means is something's hidden from a screen reader. Right here, we have social media links, and they're all hidden. I'm just going to click view on page, and we can maybe flip to the front end and find one.
As someone that has used this plugin a good bit so far, that is an awesome feature add.
Yeah.
Because even if you can read the stuff and know where, like, it's just still kind of a hassle to figure out, like.
Yeah. So some of this still, like this one, I kind of need to inspect because it's telling me that it's hidden, and I need to determine like if it's actually good that is hidden. So that's the thing that's hidden. But I know I can tell, oh, this is good that it's hidden because it has a screen reader text of Facebook right here, right? So it still tells me the link has text in it. Okay. So in the free version, you can just ignore these here. So I could say, okay, this isn't a problem. I'm going to add an ignore. And then it won't show up in my report, with the idea that eventually you would want to get, 0 and green for all these things if you're going through a page. What we added in the pro version, we have a couple of different views. So you can do a full site scan and you can see, like, look at how lovely this website is. I mean, I have thousands of insufficient color contrast and incorrect heading orders and things like that.
Right. But the idea here is not to scare people, Amber. It's to show them that this is what they're going to like. So trust me, if Amber's site looks like this, ours has got to be worse, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes those color contrasts are one line of CSS that you change.
So this is a point that I want to emphasize, right? So that these numbers here, these counts can get really high. So if we click on ARIA hidden, and I look at it this way, it's telling me there's 1,339. But if I look, it's like the same things every time, because in this view, it's telling me across every page on my website. But really, it's those 4 or 5 social media links. And I could very quickly clear this out, either by, if this actually wasn't correct, I could go fix it, and I make one fix and it fixes it across everywhere. Or in this instance, because I'm like, okay, I know these are correct because they have screen reader text. A screen reader doesn't need to know about the icon. We have the fast track tab up here, and I could go right here. This is that Facebook one that we were looking at. And I could just add a global ignorer, and that would ignore it across all pages on my site, including future pages. So if I added a new page 2 months later, it would never flag this again for me, because I've assessed it and I've said, okay, this is not a problem. So that's one of the features in Pro that is really nice.
That just got a bunch of good little reactions on the Facebook chat. A whole bunch of things just sprinkled up.
Yeah. Like so like that helps.
So great news, you guys. If you want to get an all green score, just ignore everything.
Yeah, don't do that. Now, there is an ignore log, so I can you can track. So if you have somebody working for you, you can come back and you can.
And then how do you? So you can go click into that global ignores. You can kind of undo it, right?
What are the individual? So these are global ignores. You could be like, hey, wait, that's not actually true, right? Like I need to stop the ignore, and I can see who did it. Right? I know who to blame if they ignore something.
And listen, she's a fierce mom. She's got 4 little girls, so you do not want to play. You do not want to test Mama Amber. Okay, so we've got a question from, this is Kathy Romana, KKR, as we call her, Kathy Kroll Romana. But you can't see her thing. Guys, if you have to go to that, the StreamYard is so annoying when it doesn't put your name in. But anyway, this is Kathy Romana. How do you know if something is critical or ignorable?
Yeah. So it does take a little bit of practice. What I would recommend definitely is looking at our documentation. So we spend, hopefully this will open, we'll see. We spent a long time putting together really detailed documentation that explains why are we warning people about links opening in new tabs? So we have a whole explanation of what it is. And then you could go in and make a decision about how you're going to handle those. And we have different documentation and things like that explain different ways of resolving it that would make the warning go away. So there is a little bit of just knowing you can, so even here, I flipped over to, I'm on incorrect heading orders. There's a little explanation here about why it matters and what you need to do to fix it. For the most part, things are ignorable if they're a literal false positive. So when we were looking at that Facebook icon being hidden, the reason that I knew, let's see if I still have it open. Yeah. So the reason I knew that it was okay that this icon is hidden is because I'm looking at the HTML of the link, and also inside this link is this text right here that says Facebook. Now I can't see it because it has a class of SR-only, which is saying it's only visible to screen readers. It's hidden. But that's how I know it doesn't matter that that's hidden, because Facebook text is available to a screen reader user, so they know where this link goes. So some of it is having to learn the rules a little bit. But I know you can post questions in the FocusWP group, and I'm there, and I'm happy to be like, oh yeah, this works or not. And Stephanie knows stuff, and lots of there's quite a few people in the group that know stuff about accessibility and can help you determine if something is ignorable.
Yeah, we do have quite a few folks in there who are on the accessibility train, and at Focus we do have, by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, but we have 2 certified devs, 2 devs that are certified in accessibility, and there is a wide range of things like that, which is something that I do want to come back around to. But I appreciate this demo. Do you guys have any other questions about?
Oh, wait, do you want to see? Look here. Here it
Oh, you
is.
got more. Oh, there it is. Aw, look at you taking
What
a
not to
selfie with
do
your
on your own
iPad.
website.
And to take let's just everything like taking that selfie with the iPad's wrong too. I hate to break it to you.
You can't take a
That's
selfie with an iPad?
I mean, you can.
I don't think we were selfieing. I'm pretty sure that we were doing a Facebook Live or something
Oh, okay.
at an
I'll
event,
allow it.
and someone took a picture of us, and I was like, "It's not a bad picture of us."
No, it is. It's cute. So, okay, so I'm gonna hide this for just a little bit. We can always open it back up again if we get some more questions. If you guys anything you want to ask, this is your shot. I'll bring anything over to Amber. But I wanted to ask a couple questions as far as like tactics and tips for not only our own sites but for our clients' sites as well. What would you say is um, some low hanging fruit? One of my sort of things is like when I feel really stuck on something or overwhelmed by it, if there are some quick wins I can do, then it kind of can build some momentum and make me realize like, oh wait, this isn't so horrible. I got this.
Mhm. Yeah, so you know how I changed the button text that learn more to learn more about B
Yeah.
Corps?
Hmm.
Having links that are meaningful can really make a huge difference to a person who is blind, who they may not have the surrounding context. So, and that's something you can do in the content editor usually. And also like if you fix that, like it goes away in your report. So you get a win like in accessibility checker, and it's something that can really make a big difference for people. Heading order also can make a really big difference. Screen reader users, and for that matter, Google, use the heading order to help understand um, how the content is related or organized on the page. They might use headings to jump around on the page. So really using headings in the correct numerical format and order, and going back to like what's some of the dumbest or most common things, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of themes, like out of the box themes, they don't use headings in the right order. So that's something
Yeah.
where
Guys, we know how to do this. We use headings for their function, not for their style, right? You
yes.
can make any text you want huge at the top of the page. It doesn't have to be
Well,
your H1.
you know what our devs do is we have styles and classes for headings, because
Okay.
sometimes the designer designs something that the dev is like, well, this is clearly an H2, but they've used the styles for an H3, right? Or an
Oh, I
H4.
see. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so you can make it an H2 and then put a class of H3 on it, and then it just styles it like an H3.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good trick. If your brain
Yeah.
can hold on to all of that, that seems
Yeah. I
a little
mean,
bit tricky.
alt text on
Obviously,
images is
alt
helpful.
tags. That's what I was gonna say. That's one that
Mhm.
you can tackle pretty easily, depending on how many images, of course. But that's something that you can go in and make a difference. What else you got? I'm sure you have a
So
few things on this list, right?
captions on videos make a huge difference for someone who is deaf. Having a transcript, and not just for podcasts like audio. I'd put transcripts for videos too. Like you may or may not have noticed on that page, we had the B Corp video. Then below it, we had a little accordion that's like video transcript, and you can open it to read the
Oh,
transcript
nice.
of the video. Also, another thing that helps with SEO.
Yeah,
SEO
the
and
transcript.
accessibility are best friends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've all started to learn this really, that the more accessible your site is, the better built your site is. Like the better it
Mhm.
is all the way around, which is makes it like so astonishing that it is so difficult to like why is it like it just feels like the tools you and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier that some of the tools that we're using don't make it super easy. And that's where, again, you guys listening, that's where we have a real advantage and we can provide a huge benefit. Like we can bring value to our clients and our customers because even if they can get in and poke around with Divi or Elementor or whatever and create posts and do things like that themselves, and you can put an image compression thing on so they don't put in like 5 megabyte pictures. And you can do all that stuff. But when it comes to some of these accessibility things, if it's not really like built in, then they do need your help a little bit. And you do have the skills to be able to do it. It's just a matter of learning what needs done mostly, right, Amber?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's one
I
of the
mean,
things that this plugin really helps with. Is it's like for me to be able to go and say like, okay, that's not that overwhelming. Like some of the stuff is a little more tricky than others. I just was telling her earlier today too, I just learned about the skip links and I'm trying to figure out how to make that work correctly in Divi. But you know, it's like we can figure it out. We can do this. We're geeks. We
yeah.
can do this.
I mean, there are some things that definitely require you either have to go to the theme or the plugin developer and ask them to release a fix, or you have to write like JavaScript to override what they're doing. But there are a lot of problems with accessibility that get entered in the content. It's why in WordPress, if you go to the WordPress theme directory and they're called accessibility ready. They're not accessible themes. They're ready for you to make your website accessible, which means there's no accessibility problems in the themes. But if you were to go add all of your content and not do alt text and not put captions on your videos and pick random headings and have bad link text, then that wouldn't be an accessible website, even though you started with an accessibility ready theme, right?
Speaking of your comparison to SEO, when I build websites, I specifically use language in my proposals and things like that that I say I build sites SEO ready for the same reason, because the tech is all there and I'm going to put your H tags in the right order and all that stuff. But like, that doesn't mean you're going to get a bunch of traffic. You know, we're not doing the other stuff. So I build SEO ready and accessible ready, right? So give me an example, if you would, about something in the content that people could do that would make their page or post inaccessible. Besides, okay, so we've talked about alt tags, obviously, and putting their H tags in the wrong order. Are there other things, or are those like two of the main things?
So I think something you really have to be careful about is accordions and carousels. So those commonly get added because they're designed that way. And it's easy for us to be like, here's the plugin I use or the builder I use, and it has this widget and I'm just going to add it in. And those are things that in Accessibility Checker, we just warn you. We're like, hey, we can tell there's a carousel on this page. Go test it.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, not everything can be figured out with an automated tool. Sure. So one of the things you would want to do if you put, let's say, a carousel on your website is you would want to go to the front end and not use your mouse and see if you can use your keyboard only by hitting the tab key and then the return or the spacebar key. Can you change the slides? If there is a link inside the carousel, can you get to the link and can you click the link and go to whatever page it's on? Unfortunately, a lot of out of the box things have some challenges there. Now, there are some that are better than others. So, but that's a thing that I think you have to be cautious about when you're designing pages. Another thing too that sometimes comes in that's like super easy to do in any builder is like adding parallax or background videos. You know, it's easy for us to do that. We can do it in 2 clicks without having to code, but those can cause a lot of problems for some people. And so like we're kind of, you know, or all the like
parallax causes problems.
Fly-in stuff. Like I go look at theme kits for Elementor on ThemeForest and I feel like I'm gonna get sick. Like I'm just like everything's flying in from every direction, right?
Yeah. All right. So there's something I need to ask you about that I've been sort of like dreading. My website's in 3D. Is that a problem?
I don't know. I feel like
is it like
your website,
but I'm willing to send anybody who needs some 3D glasses. So that is how I make it accessible to everyone to be able to see it in 3D. I mean, the images all have descriptions.
And why didn't I try your website with my Mickey Vision glasses? That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
So I don't know if it matters so much on the images. That's a really great question because they have like a little bit of blur. I don't know if they would make someone that has like a vestibular disorder feel dizzy. I don't know.
I've gotten some.
You do have some color contrast that could be improved.
Well, listen, we're working on our site, but I didn't want to do it before we like started all this stuff. I wanted it to be because as soon as I ran that thing when I was first playing with your plugin, I wanted to like go in and start doing it all. And I even told Tom, I'm like, let's not yet. Let's not like, let's show Amber the before and after, someone to like show off that we can do it so good. I want to be like, we're not going to do anything. And I want you to see our site and see our report. And then we're going to just crush it. And then you can see the after. So I know that we do have a bunch of little things like that, but But anyway, yeah, so the 3D images. You guys wanna, if you need your 3D glasses, go to focuswp.co/3D glasses, I think is the link. And I'll,
And you'll send them. Yeah, that
Vicky
is a good
says
thing.
it's a neurodivergent issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
so
know. I feel like I need to research that a little bit.
I get,
I'm actually doing a design audit for someone right now that I was like, I need to research this because it has like script font on it. And I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a problem, but I need to figure out what I can pass it to.
does the screen reader read it with a little more flourish?
Well, it'd
If it's in
be
script?
fine for a screen reader user. It's less
I was
about that
joking.
than somebody who has like dyslexia,
Yeah.
right? Like if you have cursive font, and that's the thing that's interesting is like it's very obvious. Like we think of people who are blind or people who are deaf, but there's this whole range of I can see like, you know, Superman through things, and to like I can't see at all. Like there's a whole bunch of people in the middle there, right? And so, or there's people that see just fine and they have a learning disability, or they have ADD and they find like a lot of motion distracting. So there's a lot of different people.
I know there's so many. So that brings me to another question, which I was going to ask you later, but this is one of the other overwhelm parts for me is how do you find a balance? Like if we made every single site able to be read and visited by every single human being with no matter what like maybe they have a learning disability, maybe they can't, maybe they're illiterate, like what, like if you tried to solve every single problem, we would have very, very little creativity out there. We would really have to structure things and limit things in a lot of ways. Where do we draw the line? I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm never going to do that, but also like it isn't always realistic. And sometimes that can cost a lot of money for a customer or a client of ours to get to that point. You know, like how do we know what is an acceptable amount, like when it's accessible enough? And I don't want to sound like I don't care, because that's not the truth. You know that. But like, but there are lines, right? There's the A, AA, and AAA. If everybody needed to be AAA, there wouldn't be those other two things. There would just be like accessible or not accessible. So how do you know which one of those is the is where we need to be?
Yeah. Well, I definitely do not want to say that being accessible means you cannot be creative. There are a ton of very creative, very beautiful websites that are also very accessible. Now, are there certain things that you don't do? Like we were talking about stuff flying everywhere. Yes. But I also think arguably, and you see this best if you look at some of the really large, you know, if you go look at Apple's website, like Apple has put a lot of work into their accessibility and the aesthetic and the design, and like their stuff looks nice, but it doesn't have stuff flying. Like that's what I tell my clients when they ask for that. I'm like, well, Apple doesn't have stuff flying everywhere, and yet they're a massive company and they're able to sell their brand. Like you don't need that, right? So I think like I don't want us to start by thinking accessibility means we can't be beautiful or creative, because I think we can.
You know, I mean, I'm sort of like exaggerating a bit to prove a point, but like basically, what's the right amount of accessibility for what? Like, and obviously that answer is different for different sites, but how do you know?
Yeah. So that goes to your point on the different levels. So with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG is what I call it. There are 3 different levels. There's A, AA, and AAA. And they have different guidelines that allow you to meet the different levels. The general consensus among countries where there are laws, the laws always point to AA. So an example of something that has both a AA and a AAA standard is color contrast. There is a lower threshold for color contrast at AA than there is at AAA. And a lot of times for our clients, we're only meeting AA color contrast because that's closer to their brand palette. That's what they want. And you know, maybe that's fine for that specific audience. I think you also want to think a little bit about, you know, who the target is. So if you build websites for retirement communities, for example, you might want AAA color contrast because you might have a lot of older people with diminishing vision who are visiting that website.
You know what?
Whereas
I always wondered why it was named that, and I realized it's like accessible, and accessible.
I don't know if that's why. But yeah, so I mean the best is AAA. If you can do AAA, that's great. But a lot of people can't always do. Like, so AAA is having captions on live videos. AA is having captions on things that you pre-recorded and now you're releasing like a month later or whatever, you know, like the next day or something. Like I think there's a realization that there are some guidelines that can be challenging for people to meet, and that's sort of why there are the different levels. But I would target AA if you're doing it for clients, and perhaps there's certain AAA guidelines that you can meet, and that's good.
And we will put in the show notes and in a post about this, I will include some resources for where to learn about the differences between each of those things as well. Just so you, although you can Google them, but I like to help. We got a question. This just in from our pal Amila. Nowadays, all mobile devices support dark mode on websites. How to deal with that?
Yeah. So if you're writing CSS, there's a CSS media query for the color mode that people prefer. I don't know if I have any way of putting it, but I can get it to you for the show notes because I don't know if I can put it in the chat here. But you can actually write media queries to say if somebody has set their operating system or their browser to say they prefer dark mode, then it would serve a dark mode version of your website.
Cool.
And that's pretty much what like Twitter, Facebook, like all those apps where you can turn them off and on. That's kind of what they're doing. They have styles for the light version and styles for the dark.
You know, I was actually, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. I was just going to say, we're actually going to have Nick Croft from Reactive is going to come give a talk about this, like how to do this on a website and like decide what the color palette should be in reflecting to the clients and then how to write the CSS for it.
I was actually thinking of doing one of those things like where they have the toggle where you can switch to dark or light mode. I actually have thought of doing that would switch out 3D images for regular images. Which sounds like a huge pain in the neck to build, but
well, so that's an interesting thing with your images. They're not really moving, but that could be something you could do for people who have prefers reduced motion set in their operating system. That's another media query. Like you could be like, if somebody has this set on their operating system, then give them
then just show these
not 3D images
instead. Yeah. And then for everybody else, just automatically mail them the glasses. Right?
Yeah.
So stupid. Like what? It's the dumbest thing, but it just makes me happy for some reason, and then I have to like deal with it and whatever.
Do a lot of people say stuff to you about it? Like, do people think it's a mistake? Are they like, your images are broken?
They don't think it's a mistake. I've had a couple people, like a small number of people who hate it. I've had more people that love it, just because it's different, you know. And because I'm a dork, and I will literally mail you a postcard, an envelope with a card and a pair of glasses and sticker in it.
Well, I think I need to get you to send me one so I can look at your website.
Didn't I give you a pair of glasses? And
I got Mickey Vision glasses for watching 3D fireworks, but I don't know if those would work. And then I gave them to my children. They're probably gone now.
It might have. Yeah, I'll send all your girls a pair. Remind me. I'll get you some. But we've got, when we went to the recurring revenue retreat, it was at Disney World, and we got these special 3D glasses for the fireworks show. And it, like, when the lights explode, it like shows a little prism of Mickey Mouse heads in the sky. It's like, they were really, I don't know. I wanted to be tough and cool and not like them, but even like all the guys, like the grown men, were all like, oh, "These are awesome." It's really funny.
Everybody can love cool 3D things,
right? It's just fun. Now another thing that if anyone who knows me, by the way, we're 44 minutes in. I was like, we're not going to go a full hour. It's too long. My kidding.
And then you got me on, and I like to talk.
Say hello in an hour, and you got a lot to say. So I can't believe it's taken me 44 minutes to ask about AI, because that's my other favorite thing to talk about these days. So what's what's the thing with AI and accessibility? Can we use, are there tools that you know of? Are there things that are coming? How do you sort of envision AI with accessibility? AI
So
accessibility. No,
what
that didn't work.
you have to be careful about with AI is that AI could mean accessibility overlays. Like they try and talk like we're using AI to make your website accessible. And those are just
Oh, I see. Okay.
right.
Okay.
But where I do think AI could come in, and this is something we have talked about doing, is having something where you could go through your media library. If you have images that don't have alt text, it could send out the image, generate something. You could either accept it or edit it if you need to, right? So really quickly generating alt text for a lot of images.
I love
I
that.
think AI could be useful on that front. We have in Accessibility Checker the ability to add a simplified summary. So there's a AAA guideline. And this is something probably most of our clients that are outside of like the government space don't use, but the government people really like it. Where if your content is over the 9th grade reading level, then you're supposed to provide an alternative that is more simple. And so I've thought, like with some of the AI, I think OpenAI actually has the ability to like summarize this content, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I don't like is I tested out their summarize for a 2nd grader, and then I put it through reading level checks, and it was all like 12th grade reading level. And I was like, nope,
Really?
they failed that
Huh.
part. So they need to work on that part. But I could see something where you could get
Sometimes
like,
it does work.
yeah, maybe it depends on the content that it's trying to summarize. But I could see like being like, I need a easier to read version of this really long blog post that's like a little paragraph, right? Like I think AI
Mhm.
could be really helpful for doing that kind of thing.
So when you have to do that, do you build it into the, um, like, how do you put that in the page? You don't change all your content. It's like an alternate, right?
So in our plugin on the page reports, there's a readability tab. And depending upon your settings, you may have
I
it
saw that.
turned off or on like to prompt you. But there's a box where you could put in a simplified summary. And then in the settings, you can choose to have it display above the content or below the content. So some people use them like an abstract or like a TLDR at the top. And some people
Okay.
put it at the bottom and it's just like, here's the summary of this post.
I mean, again,
Um,
that can't hurt with SEO either, right?
yeah. And there's a function too. So if you don't want it to automatically insert, you could like code it to show up in a specific place. Like you could even put it in an accordion if you wanted to, so that it's collapsed. But if
I feel
somebody
like you've
wanted to
mentioned
expand
2
it, they could.
cases of using an accordion for accessibility, and then one time you talked about it being bad for accessibility. So explain yourself.
So yes, I guess I kind of went down the tangent on carousels. I mentioned accordions and then I only talked about carousels. So accordions are the same thing where accordions can be helpful. Like we'll put transcripts for videos in accordions or even audio files sometimes because we don't want them to be fully visible on the page. You just need to make sure that somebody who's not using a mouse is able to tab to that accordion and open and close it.
Okay.
And that if they're on a screen reader, it tells them that it's collapsed and all that. It should be coded as a button, not a link or a div.
Okay.
But yeah, so as long as it can be function without a mouse, and again, like this is, you just turn your mouse off, stick it in your drawer, try and use your whole website with the tab key, or you get Stephanie to do that for you, and then she fixes it when it doesn't work.
We can do it. Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions, and then I think we're gonna wrap up. But so this was in the link to the event beforehand. Amila asked, "How can we stay up to date on changes in accessibility standards and guidelines?" Which is a great question.
She should join my email list.
This is a he. This is a he, but he should. Yes.
Yeah. Total pitch. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Please put the link in. Where is it?
Yeah. So it's equalizedigital.com/focus-state is our. I don't know how to.
J. And I also like that it uses the word focus.
Yeah, that's our, so we send out emails and we kind of keep track of stuff and we'll notify people. Otherwise, there's a working group for WCAG, for the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and you can join that. We're also a member of the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. They have an individual membership that's not too expensive, and they have like community forums and they send out a lot of stuff. So that's another place.
Whoever is in charge of accessibility things really needs to work on their naming conventions, is all I want to say.
Yeah, I mean,
so long.
Mostly we just call it the IAAP, but if I said that to you, you'd be like, what does that even mean?
No, I
right?
would not know. Yeah.
So this is accessibility. I explain my acronym before I say it.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so Amila, go sign up for Amber's email list. We're going to put, are you popping a link in the chat?
Well, I put it in the private thread. Can I put
okay.
it somewhere
Oh, yeah,
else?
that's fine. I'll do it then, because I don't think it'll even go up like on YouTube or anything. So I'll take care of it. Thank you. So KKR asked a question about violations on a checker that she got, but I need a little more clarification. So we'll wait for her to get back on that. And then Amila also asked for like an accessibility compliance checklist, but I think that's what we're getting in the plugin, right? I mean, I think that's
so.
Or is there
I have one. If anyone wants to email me or to like DM me on Facebook or in Twitter or something, we have what we call our shift left checklist. And it has everything that you would do at every phase of a website project for accessibility, starting with discovery. Like, here's the accessibility things in discovery. So if you email me, I can send it to you.
Yeah, okay. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so we've got oh, look at this. Amila too. This guy's the best. He loves the 3D. See?
Awesome.
There we go. One vote for. Is the plugin a single site per license?
Yeah, so we don't have an unlimited site license. You can get currently a single site, 5 site, or 25 site off our website. And then if you need more than that, you can contact us for special pricing. What we do allow though is we have unlimited dev sites. So if you try and activate it on like localhost or dev dot something or staging dot something, it won't count against your activations and it will still function. So so you can buy a single site license and use it on your main site and on your staging site or on your local computer for your website, and it will still only need a single site license.
That is a lovely feature. Thank you. I would like to, as a web builder, I would like to say thank you for doing that, because
oh, you're welcome. I will say on a multi-site, if you have the subdomain set up, it does not count as a single site, just because of the way Easy Digital Downloads works.
Oh, hey, bonus.
So you would need multiple licenses for multi-site.
All right, I'm posting in the groups the link to the email list. And then as we wrap up and talk about how to take advantage of some of these things, I'm curious what you think is the future of accessibility in web, Amber.
Well, I definitely think that there is an increasing focus on it.
Saying the word, I love it.
I think that Google is going, accessibility is in Lighthouse, which Google has access to. They show it on their, if you use the Google page speed score thing, it'll tell you about accessibility too. I think at some point in time, Google is going to say that accessibility is impacting search algorithm. I think it does a little bit already, because they count bounce rate and they look at headings and they use link anchor text to understand what pages are about when they're linked to. So it does already impact, but at some point I think Google's going to come out and be like, this matters. And then people are really going to focus on that. Increasingly government, excuse me, sorry. Increasingly governments are requiring it. So I think it's kind of going to become one of those things like mobile, where in the beginning we're like, oh, we have to charge extra for this, or we're just going to build websites that aren't mobile responsive if the client can't afford it, and we're just going to skip it. And now, like, I don't know who here would raise their hand to be willing to say that they launch websites that aren't mobile responsive. And I think accessibility is going to be the same way.
Now, whereas I am like, perhaps controversially, I don't think it's actually that controversial, but that I don't really believe in designing mobile first. I think that's just impractical and kind of dumb. But I think to design, plan, and build accessible first does make sense for sure. Because if you're going at this, what?
It will say, I mean, it saves you a lot of time if you think about it from the
Right.
beginning.
Because like the remediation to go back and fix all this stuff is a lot more complicated. So if you are starting right out with a brand before you even start building a website, and you make sure that the color contrast is gonna work for you, like that step alone is gonna save so much hassle and headache down the road. So here, guys, this is what we're gonna do with the partnership that we've got here with FocusWP and Equalize Digital. So the link that's in my little screen here, focuswp.co/ally, which is A11L, which, I specifically wanted to make sure I asked you why that, but we'll come back to that in a second. If you go there, there's a product that you can sign up for. It's $199. We will install the premium version of the plugin. We'll run a scan. We'll give you a report with our recommendations as well. And then you get up to 3 hours of remediation. You can do that on any site. And then once we're done, you can keep the plugin around, the free version of it to play with and or upgrade on your own. So this is something, I don't know, Amber, how much do you think they could charge for something like that for their clients?
Yeah, well, I mean, 3 hours of remediation is pretty good, right?
Yeah, you can get a lot of alt tags filled in and color lines of CSS updated, so what would you think would be a reasonable thing to charge for a thing like that? I don't know, $500?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. Everybody bills differently. So you put me on the spot. I'm like, I don't know.
I love talking about money because that's what everybody wants to hear. Everybody wants to know, like, okay, that's how much it costs me, but how much can I sell it for? So guys, go out there, spend less than $200, sell it for $500 or $600, make some money, make a client forever, because 3 hours probably isn't going to do everything. It's going to get you a real good head start, and then it's going to show your client the values that you have. It's going to show them that you're proactive in helping them. You can be able to demonstrate how much better their site is with it. I mean, there's a lot of wins from that, right?
Yeah, ideally what you want to do is you want to get them on the $600 a month plan, where they're paying you for scanning and 3 hours of remediation every month as a recurring plan.
Love it.
I mean, that's kind of how we've approached a lot of this stuff, because, going to someone and being like, pay me $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for an accessibility audit, and at the end you get a report and nothing has been fixed. Like that doesn't work, right? And so we've done a lot of saying,
scratch what I said about $500. Charge them $10,000. I was wrong.
Well, I don't know about $10,000 a month. I wish I had that client.
No, for the report and the first jump start. And then
but I think like where I see a report like this being especially useful is if you can use it as a sales tool. So if so you can do it and say, okay, here's the plan. This is what we're going to fix over this many months, and we're going to break it up into easy monthly payments for you. And then hopefully you get them on something where they're paying you for years to do that. And it makes their website more accessible, which is good for the world. But it does it in a way that is more approachable to small businesses, maybe, because a lot of small businesses want accessibility, but thinking about shelling out, $5,000 if that's what they paid for their website, like that's overwhelming. So it's like, what can we do on a monthly basis?
I love it. That's awesome. You guys ready for this? You're going to go out there and sell some accessibility and make some money and make the world a better place. Like, come on, this is awesome. All right, now, as we wrap up here, right before we leave, why A11Y? A11Y, why is that?
There are 11 letters between the A and the Y in accessibility, and it makes it shorter. I mean, it used to matter a lot more when Twitter had a very small count. That's where that started.
Yeah. Oh, it started on Twitter?
I'm pretty sure that's where that started. So
I mean, if somebody has to type like with a pencil in their mouth, that would also help. They have like physical disability where they can't type with their hands, but I don't know. It's just silly. Somebody, the naming conventions, again, in accessibility. Oh, look, somebody always wondered that, Kelsey. See, I'm here to help. My questions are your questions, you guys. Amber, thanks, pal, for coming on. It was always fun to hang out and to talk passionately about things that we care about and making the world a better place. Amber is in the group if you want to ask her any more questions. And of course, her website is equalizedigital.com. Okay, good. Just want to make sure I didn't say the wrong one. And as it turns out, this Thursday, we do in our Facebook group, Focus on Your Biz, we always have some sort of topic or something that we're going to be chatting about. And we have a new member in our group who is blind and is starting a business doing some website accessibility checking. She's going to join us on Thursday and talk a little bit about what she does and how she helps folks. So this all just goes really well together. If you are watching this on the replay after that's happened, hit up the FocusWP blog. There'll be a post about it there at some point. I'm a little slow about getting those up, but it'll be there. Trust me. All right, you guys. Amber, any final thoughts for the people?
No, I don't think so. I mean, attend a meetup if you want to keep learning too.
Oh, that's a great one. Okay, so we'll circle back to these things and we'll put a bunch of links and resources in the notes under the YouTube video, on the Facebook group, in my LinkedIn, all those places. We'll put some stuff and go buy an accessibility audit so that you can start selling this stuff and try out Amber's plugin, which is awesome. So, okay, thanks everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.